Alright, so now we're going to start looking at the middle finger here. Try to dial that in. So I'm just going to tap the Z key to activate my spotlight gizmo here. And probably that view is going to be the best because I get a little bit of a shot of what it looks like underneath and a little bit from the top. So I will tap the Z key to hide that again. Control and Shift and go to my Select Lasso brush, and we'll go ahead and isolate the middle finger here. And I just tapped on it a moment ago, basically just to set the pivot, the camera pivot, on the finger. So it looks like we have a bit of a, it's widest at this first knuckle here, and then it transitions in a fairly straight line. So I may go just a little bit wider here. I'll just use the move brush. And then transition that so it's a little bit more linear from the wide spot in the knuckle there. And then also I think this area here is probably a little bit too thin as well. So I'm actually going to activate my Select Lasso brush, hold Control, and then show everything, and then invert that. Drop it down a couple subdivisions, smooth the mask. And now I can actually just use my move brush again. Kind of increase the width of that a little bit. And it will need to be made a little bit deeper as well, so I think for that I'll go ahead and mask the top half off, blur it out, and then I want to be careful of this area here, so I'll mask that as well. And then using the move brush, I'm just going to give it a little bit more volume in the depth department there. And now we can take a look at kind of what's going on here from the back. And grab the right finger here so everything lines up more or less the way it should. So I can see Dame Standard. I'm going to go up to my top subdivision just by tapping the D key until we go, actually that's a subtool, we want to go to Geometry. Right, so currently we're still at 4 subdivisions, which is more than enough probably. So I'm going to say that's probably the top line, and you can see I have too much bend. It's actually pretty straight there, so I'll grab the move brush and do some form of averaging of bringing the edges down. There is an angle to it, so I think that angle is actually pretty good, but it's not that kind of U shape. Oh, I've got to turn my spotlight projection off there and reduce my Z intensity. Give myself a little bit of lazy radius on that. So that'll be that line there. And then we'll put the other line probably somewhere around here. And it is fairly straight. And it does kind of curl up a little bit. Alright, so with that in mind, maybe what we'll do now is take another look at what's going on with this finger anatomy. So I'll go ahead and flip the reference here. We'll scale it up. And we'll just we'll use that shot for what we can. Whoops. So that's going to be this side here. So it looks like we have a little bit of, whoops, let me grab the move brush there rather than clay tubes. So we'll pull that back a little bit to start to get that look. We can pull the nail forward just a little bit. Looks like we have more volume up here. That sort of, and you can see that lines up reasonably well. My Z intensity is too high on that. And then we have a little bit more volume up here on that knuckle. just a little bit. And then I'll use the anatomy reference that I have here as far as kind of where the bulges are. So we've got clay tubes active. So we'll just kind of even this out so it's about the same thickness on both sides. A little bit of looks like it actually doesn't bulge out there, but it does kind of bulge out here a little bit. And maybe a little bit of like mounding there at the base. Alright, so now we'll come in with the flatten 404. I'm going to apply the square alpha, set the focal shift to have a tighter fall off. And then we can just come in here and refine the surface a little bit. So you can see, having added a little bit more than we needed and paving it down, we get a very nice kind of subtle little bulging there without it being overly dramatic. And that's really the secret sauce at this point. Kind of think of it like hammering on a bent nail. You know, you just want to kind of lightly tap it on the side that it is obviously leaning towards, and then you reevaluate it, and then you lightly tap it on the other side. So I still feel like, you know, if you kind of imagine the center line of the bulge over here, it's in the middle, but as soon as you get up to this knuckle, it feels like it's fuller over here than it is over here, and I'm thinking probably I just need to add a little bit more volume on this side. Without actually changing the silhouette, we're kind of just like meeting that plane there, that underlying plane, just to kind of round it out a little bit. And here we are again with the flatten 404. And obviously, you know, fingers aren't tubes, so if there is a little bit of inconsistency in terms of the volume, you know, as it moves down the center line, that might just kind of add a little hint of realism, whether or not it's perfectly accurate or not. And that outer face of the finger is fairly flat. We do want to make sure that we keep that feeling just a little bit more consistently level, right? Like all that area right there and this area here. All right, let's see what it looks like all together. And turn perspective off, turn it back on. So if anything, it looks like, yeah, that's probably about right. It might be a little bit too thick relative to what's going on here. We tap the Z key. We'll zoom out a little bit here. It's definitely thicker than the ring finger. Maybe the issue is this ring finger just needs to get a little bit thicker up here. But anyway, we will continue to refine these fingers and maybe jump on the upper palm area here in the next video.